And we're live. Hello. Hello,
Hey,
hello. How are you?
I'm fantastically well. How about you?
Very, very good. Thank you. And so excited for today's session. Team, we have got an amazing session. This is such an honor to have Lysand Mage here on the Leadership Blueprint series. She's an author, facilitator, high performance coach. She works primarily with technology companies to elevate engagement, improve well-being, and increase performance. And she's all about providing practical and science based strategies and tools to help teams and leaders foster cognitive diversity and enhance their decision making process. Wow. And she's had such an interesting career journey. I would say it probably hasn't been exactly a straight line. She started out as an engineer, she worked for major software companies on 3 different continents, and eventually she realized that her true calling was, and I love this, to empower people and teams to perform at their full potential. She's also the author of Act Before You Overthink, and her research in developing that book, and I know how much goes in, Lisanne, to writing and developing books, but she interviewed over 365 overthinkers worldwide. Yes, that is at least one a week for a year. And conducted studies in psychological and behavioral sciences to provide invaluable insights and actionable solutions for freeing your mind and skyrocketing your productivity and improving your well-being. So, Lisa, as I say, it is an absolute pleasure to have you here today with us.
Thank you,
Oh,
Chloe. The pleasure is shared. Thank you for having me today.
so good, so good. So, for those of you who are joining, welcome. Hello, hello. So leave a hello in the chat so that we know you're here. Welcome, Natasha. Hello. Um, so today's session is all about why a support crew is crucial for success and how to do it strategically. And so a little bit context of what brought me to invite Lisanne to join. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Chloe. I'm a leadership blueprint strategist. I'm the founder of POP. And I have a very similar mission, I'd say, to Lisanne in terms of really helping individuals and teams dive into the pool of potential that's within themselves or around them as a team. My focus is around helping anyone who dares to lead to become an exceptional leader. And I actually created POP to be the support crew for leaders. So when Lison shared with me her incredible model, which is what was gonna be the main event today's session. When she shared with me this model, I just saw it and thought, oh my goodness me, we have to share this with so many more people because this has got such incredible power to influence and help people, anyone, really think a bit more strategically about the people in their life, the support crew that you have around you, um, and to give them a really practical insight and tools around how do you shape that and set yourself up for success. So excited. Um, I'd say maybe should we start and dive straight in, Lisanne, to the model? I know it's taken you a long time to develop. What, 5 years, a reflection of your own network, your own coaching work with your clients. So let's start off there. And if you could share, and maybe I'll share up on the screen the model to begin. Is that a good
Yes,
good place to
please.
start?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. There we
So
go.
yeah, that's the model I called, thank you, Chloe, the growth network, or it can be called any names you want, the support crew, because I came up to this realization, you cannot do or be everything. We have strengths and others people can amplify, demultiply them, and we also have weaknesses. And other might step into it and help you to bridge the chasm. But even more important than that, broader than this idea of strengths and weaknesses, we have built-in differences that should not repel us from one another, but instead get us stronger, closer, better. And in her last book, The Light We Carry,
Mm.
Michelle Obama explains how her kitchen table crew, her closest friends, the ones she invites over and share a meal with in her kitchen, have always helped her to go through so many things. It can be about venting about an upsetting situation or thinking some advice. And I really like this concept of kitchen table. You know, it's another word as well we can have on this one. But I felt that, in fact, we should apply, in fact, beyond the personal sphere as well, beyond the kitchen table, if you want. Um, because I'm sure you know about these quotes. It's not about what you know, but who you know. And
Yeah.
that's often used in business. And there are many studies that emphasize the benefits of building a strong network. And there is one I particularly like, published in the Academy of Management journal. So researchers studied organization and their leaders over time, and they monitor their level of innovation. And what they found is that organizations with leaders that have a strong network and leverage it with more innovative, better at problem solving and coming up with new solutions than others. And one of the strong hints that they have, is by being massively exposed to diverse perspectives from a wide area of ideas. And in short, they benefit from being around people that think differently.
Yeah, I love that. I particularly I actually watched The Light We Carry on the weekend.
Okay.
With and I love the idea of that kitchen table and really understanding, who are the people or who are the people around your kitchen table or in your support crew or in your growth network, as you say, who are playing
Mhm.
these individual roles for you. Would it be help? I mean, it certainly would be helpful for me to go through the different roles and talk a little bit about how you see them sitting within the different categories. Obviously, if you're watching this, you can see it on the screen in terms of the elevate, the execute, and the expand. I'm really curious
Mm.
about. I mean, some of them make sense like cognitively, but and might
Mhm.
not need huge amount of explanation. But yeah, if you could dive in there,
Yeah,
I'd be super curious.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I can also give some maybe example, but yeah, three categories: elevate, execute, and expand. So expand is all about expanding your thinking, expanding your knowledge, having people that can open doors and create new opportunities for you. Elevate is about elevating your energy, elevating your state, and so on. So that's really about elevating your well-being. And execute is about executing your project, so making sure that you are doing the thing, that you are implementing the thing that you said you will be doing. So roughly that. Um, and I can share some example that I can see sometimes, when I facilitate workshops in tech companies. So I'm facing these engineers, their manager, and we go through the motions of how we can elevate the team performance. And so we end up with discussion on scope, features, client request, how they spend their time analyzing and specifying things. And they are not doing the stuff they should be doing. Instead, they are stuck in their analysis. They keep on learning new things, adding more and more information, like one more layer of complexity and one more. And until they reach a point where it's too much, they can't handle the load of information they have accumulated, and they freeze. They fall into analysis paralysis, and they don't know what to do. They can't decide. There are too many things to consider, and it's overwhelming. And I'm an ex-engineer, as you mentioned too, so I can really relate to this. And this is where having a support crew can help.
Mm.
It can help people to overcome, for example, analysis paralysis. So you have people that have. We are all different, right? So we need different things to unstuck ourselves. Some might just need a good cheerleader. So the cheerleader will be helping them to overcome their fear of making the wrong decision, for example, the fear of making a mistake. And the cheerleader, we will be like that. I know you got this. Even if it doesn't work as planned, you are resourceful. I know you will be able to manage what's coming. You got this. Go for it.
Yeah.
And this cheerleader, can be your wife, your husband, a peer, a manager. And the manager could be saying something like, I trust you, you have always delivered, and I back you on this. I know that you are the right person to decide. And those simple words can go a long way.
Yeah.
And however, as well, this manager, for example, can be also a challenger, and tell you, you are probably overthinking this. Let's make this simpler. Maybe we can cut this project into smaller pieces. Do we really need that much information to make a call there? So overall, having the right people around you will lift you. It will boost your performance in all areas of your life.
Yeah, beautiful. I think it's a really interesting one. I think there you bring up that example of teams, for teams to understand what roles are they playing in terms of the team and elevating, or what role am I playing with role am I playing with my manager, or what role are my direct reports playing for me, or what role am I playing for my peers, and also then what do I need? Like, so for instance, that example that you've given there around the manager, you want them to be the cheerleader, and sometimes you want them to be the challenger, and sometimes you really don't want the challenge, and maybe having this awareness enables them to say to enables you to have a better conversation with them, to ask them for what role you want them to be playing with you in a specific conversation. So if someone is, if you want to work something, if you want to work something out and you really want to be you want that challenge, who are the people that you can go to in your network or in your crew that can provide that, or give that most naturally, or that you're going to get,
Mm.
get that support that's going to be right for you in the moment that you need it, rather than just expecting everyone to play the same role. I think partners are a really great example. We look to our partners for a lot, and sometimes
Yes.
we would expect them to be playing a lot of these roles, when actually
Yes.
they might not be the best. They might not be best placed in order to really show up in that way. If I think about my partner is an amazing well-being officer for me. Like, really
Hmm.
such a, he would play that role. He would definitely play the steam releaser. He would play the
And,
cheerleader role.
and,
So
and for example, sorry, how does he play the well-being officer?
So for me, because I'm so enormously passionate about what I'm doing, what I'm building with Pop, he I can get carried away with my day and end up working for an entire, 12-hour stint. He's the one being like, no, come have dinner with me, or have you eaten lunch, or um like he supports me to put my life and my well-being in perspective. So, and
Mm.
I've had conversations with him around, I'm really celebrated and championed him for playing that role, because it's so important. It's so important to that, because for
Yes.
me, it's so important to me to have that rest and balance, and I don't love the word balance, but have that perspective. So to have someone in my crew who fortunately I get to spend a lot of time with, who's there to be, pulling me back to the real world and encouraging me to, watch something on Netflix, is so, so, so powerful. But if I look at him, he probably isn't going to be playing a lot of the execute and expand roles for me. So he's not a
Mm.
collaborator in terms of what I'm building with Pop. You know, uh, he's not got background or context on what it takes to run a business or to own a business. So in terms of that advisor
Correct.
role, and sometimes I don't want the challenge from him. So actually understanding where his role, how can I get the most out of him, but also then where are there gaps in my team, in my crew, that I need to be
Yes.
able to fill.
Yes. Indeed. Thank you for sharing. And that's funny because I am the well-being officer of my partner too. He's very high in consciousness,
Yeah.
and maybe you are too. So he can work the whole day with no break, and that's even sometimes scary for me to see that. So sometimes I'll tell him to stop, to unplug, to be present, to be mindful, so he can replenish. And also, that's a pattern we can often see in startups, with employees that are highly motivated, extremely engaged. They eat even instant noodles in front of their desk to be like 30 minutes more productive. And if in the short term that might have some upsides,
Yeah.
the issue is that they cannot unplug. They cannot stop thinking about work, even when they are not at work. They keep thinking about it at dinner time with their children, at night in their bed, and it's called negative work rumination. I'm not sure if you heard about that before. And studies show that it decreases both the quality and the duration of our sleep, which then trigger a vicious cycle. With less sleep, people are less performant. But since they are highly committed, they will try to compensate for the loss of efficiency by working even more.
Mm.
And they even think more about work. They cannot detach themselves. They sleep, their sleep keeps on degrading. They cannot recover, and sometimes they can fall into burnout. So to break this cycle, having a well-being officer can produce incredible results. And someone that cares, someone that is capable of saying, okay, time's up, let's switch off now, like your partner is doing. And
Mm.
as well, I really like the old mantra from Slack, a messaging company, where they say, work hard and go home. So the company is endorsing somehow, the role of well-being officer, saying that yes, you can be committed here, you can make a difference, but once the designated work hours passed, prioritize your personal lives and well-being outside work.
Yeah. I
And
think it's
obviously, there are direct benefits, if that employees, they don't burn out, they had a lower turnover, plus, employees come back refreshed, energized, so they could sustain a high level of performance over time.
It's a great example of how, and I hadn't thought about it until you shared just there, about how it's not just people who can play these roles, but organizations can also think about how are they creating systems to be able to support your role, support your employees to be showing up in these ways. How can you play that role? I worked at an organization which had a
Mhm.
strict, you are not allowed to email outside of 8 to 6.
Oh,
So
yes.
you could schedule it
Mm.
and you could do a time delay, but there was a policy around no, which is exactly playing that role of, well-being officer, or organizations that invest in their, personal development or professional development, and have resources enable the teams to support that. That's playing the role of teacher, or and mentorship programs playing the role of providing and setting up frameworks and solutions for the wise advisor. um, yeah, really, really interesting overlay that I hadn't considered. Thank you for sharing
Mm.
that.
You're welcome. Oh, it made me think as well of a company that plays a challenger, like with organizing outdoor retreats, but kind of extreme outdoor retreats. And I think it was challenging physically, and so linked with their mindset as well. So, yeah, you can, yeah. Thank you as well for bringing this idea that I saw as well out there.
And this is why I think our what I when so for context, Lison and I meet once a month to have conversations like this that aren't live or so public. And Lison, for you, in those conversations that I have, you play such an important role around collaborator. Like, this
Correct.
is an example of like how I was just so impressed with this model, and how can we then in context develop the model to be even more useful for more people, in terms of,
Mm.
and the connector, this opportunity gives both your own audience and network an opportunity to elevate theirs, but also mine. And so it connects us and individuals with, us with individuals who we can support and serve and help. Um, last night I
Yes, and you
actually
were the butt kicker because you told me, oh, you should do a video on it. And I was like, yeah, I will do a video on it. And no video came out. And then you say, Lison, let's do something together. Let's do it. So you played the butt kicker. That's why we are here today, right?
it is why it is why we're here today. It's such a valuable tool. Genuinely, if people decide to implement it and use it to reflect on their
Oh,
own
yes.
crew, it's such a
Mhm.
valuable tool. Like last night, I literally decided in preparation for today, I was gonna map out who in my network are playing these roles for me. I'm gonna share our faces a little bit larger, but
Yeah,
who are
share with us.
who in my life are playing these individual roles, um, and what came out of just that fairly short, 10-15 minutes of just mapping out, what came out of that was so useful, because I was actually, there's a real gap for me, particularly around the connector role, and
Mm.
fewer than I would like who are playing this role around collaborator, which is why I value what we're doing so much, value what we are doing, this conversation that we're having today, because it's part of this collaboration. Um, so talk to me a little bit about that connector role. I'm really curious on a personal level. When I was doing the review, what's a connector? What would I be looking at, and how would I be analyzing the connectors in my life?
It's a raving fan that will open doors.
Mm,
So I think professionally that will be someone like that. And if it's more personally, a connector will be like in your time off, someone that will always have plans and fun activities to do where you can meet interesting people
yeah,
that you value because you have the similar value or similar hobbies. So they are people that understand where you are, your journey, what you do, what's your vision, what's your mission, and they believe in you. And they are like raving fan, brand ambassador, professionally speaking, and they open doors for you because maybe they have lots of network, or they like to help you, and they trust you, they know that you will do a good work, and they like to refer you.
yeah.
And otherwise it can be as well in your personal life. It's someone that will connect you with interesting people, and so you meet new people all the time.
That's such an interesting reflection. I think I play a good um often play the role for other people of that connector role, and putting people in touch with, oh, actually you would be really best suited with that. Um,
Mhm.
so I think there's something in there around really understanding what roles do you play for other people, as well as what roles do you need other
Yes.
people to be playing for you.
Yes, and that's really key what you are saying here, because maybe some people, they will see the model and they will jump on it. It's like, oh, I have to get those people. But sometimes before getting, you have to give.
Yeah.
So that would be the first step to build, and to do that is like be someone in someone else network. And I really like to refer, the book Give and Take from Adam Grant, where
Yeah.
he describes three type of people, the taker, the matcher, and the giver. So for people that don't know, quickly, giver, they give without expecting in return. Matcher, they give, but they expect something of similar value in return. Taker, they just take. And overall, he demonstrated that the giver are more successful long term because of this philosophy. So give, look at what's your strengths and see where you can give to other people and without expecting anything in return. And I know it's hard, but that's the path.
Hard, but so important. I always think about it as, are you playing a role of a value extractor, where you're similar, kind of the more take, like, are you looking for what's wrong or what's not there, or are you looking for where there are opportunities for you, or are you a value creator? Are you creating opportunities? I think it's
I like
also
it.
specifically relevant. I have a lot of conversations with clients around pay rises and promotions and all that kind of stuff. And I want to get, I deserve a promotion or I deserve a pay rise. And that's very much through that value extraction mindset of, who do I need to have in my network or my growth network in order to be playing. And for those who have been through kind of maybe courses and stuff might be familiar with understanding um, your personal board, like your board of directors. This model
Mm,
reminded me of that board of
correct.
directors
That's
model that
can yeah.
often would be used. But rather than just looking at who needs to be in the right rooms in order to be the sponsor to be able to have those conversations, how do you add so much value to the organization that it's a complete no-brainer that you get promoted or you get the pay rise? Or how do you understand specifically what's the priority for your boss? What's up? What does he need or she need?
Yeah.
And how do you add the value there? How do you create the value before you
Mm,
extract the value? So I think that's a a beautiful addition, and this would probably be an awesome exercise to really reflect on what role would your boss ideally want you to be playing for them. I'm
mm,
always of the view that actually the higher up you go, the general manager as an example, how many cheerleaders does the general manager actually have as an example? How many people are
yes.
giving the general manager a pat on the back saying that they've done a great job versus challenging
Yeah.
them on not necessarily. So can you play that role? Can you
Mm.
acknowledge the most senior
Yeah,
person in your
because
organization?
that's kind of a fact. The more you go up, the more lonely it is up there. So definitely, I think a lot of roles could be available for people that are um, up there. So know your strengths and add value for the people up there. Yeah.
Yeah, add value where are your natural strengths? What if you were reflecting back on your own model for you, where
Hmm.
do you feel like your kind of natural strengths are, or where what are some opportunities? I mean, you don't have to share, but I'm
No,
curious.
no, sure. I think I play different roles for different people again. But I mean, usually maybe when I have some coaching ongoing, I will be like a steam releaser, cheerleader, well-being officer, and
Yeah,
then when we have like just like a trusted relationships, I will become like the butt kicker and the challenger, to get things done and to keep moving and to get people getting to their full potential. Right? It's about that. So. Um, yeah, I think I love being a challenger, but for greater good, right? I feel that if people stay in their status quo, there is no growth. And sometimes, growth happens during uncomfortable moment, but
yep,
you have to feel safe to grow as well. So that's why, we start with like the well-being, the steam releaser, the cheerleader, and then we come back, when it's needed. When growth is too much uncomfortable, we we go back into those elevate components.
yeah. I think it's a great addition of a mentor. One of mentors of mine, um, whenever I ask him for feedback, as an example, he'll ask me, "Well, what sort of feedback do you want? What
Mm,
role do you want me to be playing?" Not he isn't familiar with this model yet, but
yes.
he asks me that question around, are you looking for me you know to elevate where you're already at and cheer you on? Are you looking for me to really pick it apart? What are you looking for? Because we all need if you're 10 minutes before a presentation and you ask for feedback, you really don't want someone to be going really heavy on that challenger room
Yes.
picking it apart. Whereas if
Yeah,
you're really early on in the
it's too
stage,
late.
actually that challenge, you want someone just being like, hell yes, you've got this, or raising and elevating that energy, in order for you uh, to show up. But if you're looking for more collaboration in terms of really creatively designing and continuing to do the workshopping there, actually I will go to him and be like, be like, I would like you to play the role of um yeah, creative partner, essentially, as an example,
Mm.
or pick it apart, or what am I not seeing? What are the questions that
Yes.
I'm
What
not
are your
seeing?
blind spots? Yeah, because
Exactly.
other people can highlight your blind spots, and that's why it's like about thinking differently and bringing different perspectives. Because that's very enriching, and sometimes that's why as well the difference between working with one mentor. I mean, not one mentor and like nine people or a bit less because you have people they can play two roles, bring and much more perspective, diversity, and I think it's fast tracking your success because with only one mentor you also absorb maybe their own blind spot or their own way of
Yeah.
seeing the world, rather than having this diversity of people that come along and that can challenge you in different perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think mentor is a really interesting one. It's often something that will come up with people, whether like, oh, will you be my mentor? Or I haven't got a mentor, or I want a mentor. And often I'll think that books and authors like yourself can play
Mhm.
such an amazing, even if you never meet the individual that you are meeting. I've got a book right here.
That's funny you say that
They can
because
play
I
such
had,
a good role in terms of
yeah,
mentoring and that
you can
teacher
hear their
role.
voice. Yes. In fact, it happened to me. I hired Steven Pressfield. I don't know if you know about him. He's the author of The War of Art. He was part of my butt kicker,
Amazing.
cross when I was writing my book. Like, I could hear his voice. Like every day, I had to sit in front of my computer, because
Yeah.
I consume so much content about writing a book, podcast, YouTube video, how to write a good book. I was just obsessed with that, and I never wrote any line. And I was like, that's not gonna go well. And then I could hear his voice over and over. And then I had another butt kicker, and this one brought the idea of finding a bookstore, set up a date with them for a book launch. So I
Mm.
had this external accountability that the book needs to be there during on this date, and that definitely helped me to get into motion, and to get this book done.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's such a valuable. It also helps you develop multiple, as you said earlier. It's like who getting different perspectives so that you don't have blind spots in your own crew or in your own team. Um, and also then the other thing that I was doing when I was reflecting yesterday on my own, I was thinking, well, who are playing these roles at what frequency? So I started looking at, who are live, who are high frequency. So once a week, who are the
Mm,
individuals who are in my crew that are playing those roles. So my partner, my mum, my coach, who I actually
mm,
have once a week anyway, who I speak with once a week anyway. My
yeah.
team that I see them,
Mm,
if not every day. So those are kind of who would be live and high frequency for me. And then
mm,
what roles are they playing? Across, what roles are they currently playing, and also what roles could they play? Where are the potential
mm,
for them to play, and where might there be gaps? And then from a lower frequency, monthly, who are the people who, like you, we meet monthly to have conversations. You would be within my live, kind of often, my live often in terms of frequency.
mm,
And then I would consider, oh, what roles is Lisson playing for? What roles could she play for me? What is she currently playing for me? And then, who are the more infrequent? And then who are past people in your past who they might not be
mm,
live relationships, but they probably could
mm,
theoretically be reignited if you needed them, and what roles did they play in the past? So I think there's a really interesting overlay as well when people are doing reflections as to as to the frequency and what do you need, how does that need to shift. When I first started pop, and my biggest gap was, and I have a different, until I found your model, I've used um a different essentially I'm saying that I've always said that there's 5 people that you need, types of people that you need in your crew. You need a coach,
Mhm.
you need mentors,
Mhm.
like books as an example.
Mhm.
You need friends and family. You need
Mhm.
peers, and so people who are doing similar things to you, and you need cheerleaders or fans. Um, as you say, yeah, the fan piece there. So those are the 5 roles that I've always been, prior to finding this, and this is an amazing overlay to that existing model that I'd used around those 5. But when I moved into entrepreneurship and started Pop, my peer group just completely, I had none. Like the people who were previously peers for
Yes.
me in corporate world, they were
Mm.
they turned in, they
Yeah.
shifted into the friend
Yeah.
bucket, or they went.
Shift of career, so shift of peers.
Exactly. And so
Mm.
it has been such a conscious, that awareness when I saw that that shifted, it meant that I've really been conscious about curating a peer group, joining masterminds, finding individuals like you who are on the same path, make with very
Mm.
similar missions, doing amazing things in the world, who get it, who really get where I'm at. And
Yes.
so often I think in the corporate world, we only look at our peer groups in the organization that we're in, whereas
Mm.
there's so many other people in
Yes.
other industries that can expand, who would be
Yes.
having similar, going through similar challenges, experiencing similar things,
Mm.
that can expand our ability to see some of those blind spots and gaps as well, and who can enhance. And sometimes it's not right to have a relationship, in terms of, not right, but like, it might not be the best fit to have a relationship with a peer, or there might
Mm.
be conflict that comes up with a peer within an internal organization. So are who are what are uh, tools or communities that you can
Mm.
find yourself in order to build up your support crew? And for I think is a really, really key distinction, and something I'm very passionate about.
Yes. So much stuff as well happen in my mind. It's like, there is a saying, I don't know if you heard about it. Sometimes people enter in your life for a reason, for a
Mm,
season, or for a lifetime.
mm,
And definitely for the growth network, it's more like a seasonal reason. Like usually, like people within your network, it's evolving because you grow as an individual. So it's okay to let go of people that are not sharing the same path.
yeah,
um, and there are 7 billions of people out there, so you can always meet new people that are maybe more close to you. And the other thing as well, you say, yes, sometimes you have peers in your own company. And like sometimes I can see so many situations where you are peers, but then they became your manager
yeah.
as well. So maybe in fact that's good to look outside of your company as well to get some peers, because it might be more safer for the relationship that can evolve over time if they are in the same company.
Yeah, removes that competitiveness, even if it's a subconscious competitiveness that often will
Mm.
exist. Or the imposter syndrome. I need to be putting on a face of feeling like I have,
Yes.
I'm I'm an amazing leader, and no one, no one. There's a lot of people who experience a lot of self-doubt, and actually seeing yourself reflected in others is really, really powerful. Also, as I was saying, your seasons change as well, and your relationships get to evolve. Um,
Mm.
and some people who might have been previously playing particular roles for you might not be right or relevant. Might not, yeah, and you might want them to shift into the roles. Having this awareness helps you communicate to them what and
Yes.
why and how you want that to shift.
It's really important. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like boundaries, communication, and being aware and how to communicate with the people. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. The personal relationship that's come up for me around that, where I think, well, I've had evolution certainly within the last couple of months, has been my dad. My dad's also a business owner, and
Okay.
he can absolutely, if we go back to that model, he can absolutely
Mhm.
play this wise advisor role, a wise advisor
Mhm.
or even a teacher. He can play a
Mhm.
challenger role for me. He could play a butt kicker. But when I go round on a Sunday afternoon for Sunday lunch, I don't want him to play that role, and it's
Yeah, maybe
taken.
more on the elevate
Yes.
category.
Yes, please. Steam releaser or a cheerleader or just, play
Yeah.
the specific role of my dad rather than um and so that's been a really interesting conversation that I've had with him more recently. It's like,
Mm.
yes, I love your advice and
Mm.
I welcome it. However, let's go back and shift to a place where it's asked, or how do we use this understanding um in order for to support them to show up, because he's coming from such a kind, generous, giving space.
Mm.
Sometimes I just want to, I just want to have a Sunday lunch with my dad rather than
Yes.
like a deep
Especially if you
dive.
are very high in consciousness and you always work, 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 you have to unplug, and Sunday is the best time to unplug with your family. So he needs to understand that. He cannot put you back into it. It's like, no, time to unplug.
Yeah, and it's not just on him, it's on me. It's on me to be able to say, as you were saying earlier, around those boundaries and set
Mm.
the guideline
Yeah.
for that relationship.
Mm.
Such a valuable conversation. I feel so I've got so much out of it. Um, Before we close up, is there anything else that you think is live for you that you want to share, or any wisdom to impart, the wise advisor role for those who are watching or watching on the playback?
um, that I think as well, I want to share that the most important is to connect with people in real life, because I work many with tech companies, or I can see some trends, about the numbers of like increase of loneliness out there in the world, or like just when you go out and when you go into public transport, you can see everyone with their mobile phone, and so on. So, and we know with the rise of AI and this kind of stuff, um, connect with other human beings, and as well, building relationships takes time. I
Yeah,
feel that people are tend to forget about that one. Like, now it's like we have Uber Eats, Amazon, our doorstep within just a few hours, a few days.
yeah,
And to build relationships, it doesn't happen over a week, over a day. It takes time. It's like a plant. You have to water the relationship if you want or the water the plant if you want the plant to grow, if you want the relationship to grow. And as well, you will make mistakes, and that's okay. You learn along the way, but connect, get into out there, and connect with other human beings.
yeah, beautiful. Love that. Love that. It's been such a pleasure to have you on today. Such a privilege. As I say, I really think that you developed something really special that has the power, should individuals choose to utilize it. And it's all a choice as to whether or not we use or take on anything and adapt it and suit it to what we need and how we think it's gonna add the most value for me. Certainly,
Mm.
if I was just looking at last night and having really mapped out my own crew, such a valuable exercise. So many small pieces of awareness enable me to make small shifts that can set myself up for success. I think you said a beautiful quote at the beginning, and I've forgotten the quote, but it's around the who. Focus on the who.
Who you
Who
know.
in your
Yeah.
who you
It's not
know.
about what you know, it's about who you know,
Beautiful.
for to be successful, whatever success means for you. And that people that are with you on the journey, they understand the success and the meaning of your success, and make sure that you are sustainable, and you in your journey.
Yeah. And so often we forget the who within the how, and the who actually can play such a pivotal leverage in order to support you long term in terms of sustainable growth and sustainable
Yeah.
success, and success that you enjoy, where you feel connected.
Mm.
We are
Yes.
born to connect. That's how we've been developed. So Big thank you. If this has been really helpful, or if you found this conversation useful, what would be the biggest gift for Lisan, and is to share in the comments what you have taken away. I think that
Mm,
sharing is one of the best ways to contribute and to give back, because you have no
yes.
idea how you're going to help other people, and allow other people to be reflected through your comments, or to disagree with them in terms of that challenger role. So I would love to see takeaways in the comments. I will also leave a link to where you can find out more about Lisan, and get more amazing tips like this, which came through her newsletter. So that will be shared. But a big thank you. And we will close.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye all.